All right, so this is what we got. So some victories and a little bit of a fallback or a backstep here. So we actually see the denting is working. If I look here, I can see that the front is collapsing and then is staying collapsed. In fact, we could even take a closer look at it. We could just fly over there and see that that mangled nature is now stuck that way. It's not going back to where it was. So it's mangled, it's staying stuck, and that's pretty good. That's actually largely what we were going for. What I would have liked to have seen more is some of this other stuff break apart. I would have liked to have seen it fall off. It seems that whatever was holding a lot of these pieces together was still considered pretty strong. So let's figure out. Now this is going to just come down to tweaking the parameters of those properties. So let's see. One thing we might try right off the bat actually is just, again, go extreme. Let's go extreme with some values. So if it's not falling apart, then I would presume maybe that the glue, so to speak, keeping the or not the glue, I shouldn't say that, but the hard constraints that are filling out, between the areas here, those ones might be too strong. They're keeping it together too much. So if I look down here, for example, I should actually keep that one that I just deleted. So here's our cat deformable equals 1. Going the other way, we still have constraints here, of course. That's the rub. These are being set by the body properties. So apparently those might be too strong. So here are the body properties, and it looks like the cat hard break this is 0.15 and break force is 1,000. So what if we just brought it down to like nothing? Let's say it would break basically immediately. So now we know if it stays together still, then something is wrong. If it does break apart easily, which it should, then that means that we just need to figure out what the right properties are. We might have to use wedging, or we don't have to, but I always like to use wedging to just try a whole bunch of different values at once. There's lots of things we could try there, but it looks like things might be falling apart a little bit better this time. Still not quite as much as I would expect, though. I still think that this tail would fall off. It seems like some of the stuff on the top fell off easier, this whole thing. But the rest is still kind of sticking together more than I would have thought. So let's keep going. Oop, there we go. Okay, so we saw that the main seam here, keeping these together, was those hard constraints, right? And we just changed all the hard constraints such that they were, at least the hard constraints on the body here, are much weaker. So there's also these glues, though. And and I'm noticing actually, and I have a feeling this is what it's going to be. It's this tail that I feel like should separate from the rest of it. And look at this. We have this little spider web here of glue. And that glue is going to be pretty strong. This glue is gluing probably like a wheel or a light or something. Oh, it's this antenna thing. So it seems to be that this is kind of, even though it's only over here, it's reaching over there. It's finding those pieces and gluing itself to it. And that's okay. But it's going to be too strong because it's going to be this. It's going to be the glue strength is going to be 10,000, which is apparently is too strong. So let's bring it down a lot again, just to test and see what that gets us. So now we've got, just so we are keeping track, body has been turned down to 0, which is pretty low. So let's see what that gets us now. We'll do a little thing here. Oh. It's going to reevaluate that apparently, and here we go. We should know pretty fast. As we can see, the sim is super fast, which is great. And it's crushing down a lot more. Yeah, so there we go. So that's what it was. It looked like some things that were spanning the seams were keeping it together. Cool. So this is looking great now. We've got it coming down. We've got maybe this thing is letting go too early. Maybe that one will want to keep the strength up on him. Also, it looks like our propeller blades aren't really shattering as much as I would like. Those are all things we can work on, but I'd say in the immediate short term, that's fine. Well, I guess we could just look real quick. Rotors, the rotors are all glued. So the rotors are actually pretty strong. And actually I'm thinking maybe the rotors should be less strong, but the rotor assembly itself should be stronger. That might make sense. So we could take that and we could take this and I'll just copy this one over. Oh, it's viewing the simulation in the background. I'm just going to hide that. That's why it's taking so long. So I'll say rotor assembly. This way because we just made everything weaker by changing the default glue strength to be so low. So I'm going to say, let's bring back and we'll do it by this name thing again. Let's bring back the rotor assembly's glue strength. We'll make that, let's maybe even make it 10,000 and maybe no clustering though. Keep that at 0. So that's cool. And let's see, and what was the other thing? The rotors here, they may have been a little too clustered, so I'm going to bring them down to 0.1. So we made the rotors weaker, we made them less clustered, we made the assembly stronger, and this is how you can imagine, this is what's so important about this thing, you can imagine getting notes like this. Somebody might say all those things to you, where, oh, the rotors stayed together too much, so now they are chipping apart more. Now maybe they're releasing too soon, and we can go back and change that. But now we're able to address notes in an interesting and in a meaningful way. And I still love the way it continues spinning. So it looks like this is letting go pretty soon. So maybe the rotors were fine being stronger. And, you can basically just wedge these things. As I mentioned earlier, fell behind there. We can wedge all this kind of stuff to say, try it with this value, try it with this value, try it with this value. Just run it overnight and just see what looks good. I don't think I'm going to belabor this too much longer, but maybe I'll make the assembly. No, I'll keep it there. That's fine. So anyway, so we've got ourselves the thing working pretty well. Let me run out one more cache real quick, just so we have something to work with. And the next chapter, we're going to actually bind the surfaces to the crushed up stuff that we're getting here. Because again, we're not going to just stay with all the fractured looking stuff that we have here.